She sat perfectly still in that defendant's chair, her dress blues pristine, despite 3 days of military court proceedings. The judge leaned forward, his voice dripping with contempt. "You're not special, Commander. You're weak." What happened next silenced the entire courtroom. She rose slowly, approached the microphone, and whispered 2 words that would end his career forever.
From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If this story intrigues you, consider subscribing to Tales of Valor for more untold military stories that challenge what we think we know about courage and command. The Naval Station Portsmouth military courtroom held an unsettling sterility that morning. Commander Victoria Cross had been sitting in that same defendant's chair for 3 consecutive days, watching her 15-year career systematically dismantled by a legal system that seemed determined to make an example of her. Judge Marcus Thornfield tapped his gold pen against the bench, his signature habit, before shuffling through his papers one final time. His gold-rimmed glasses reflected the harsh fluorescent light as he prepared to deliver what everyone expected to be a career-ending verdict. "Commander Cross," Thornfield began, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "This court has spent considerable time reviewing your service record: Bronze Star, Purple Heart, Navy Cross." He paused, letting his sharp, angular features settle into a condescending expression. "Quite impressive for someone who proved herself fundamentally unfit for command when it mattered most." Major Rebecca Sterling, her defense attorney, sat rigid beside her client. Sterling's jet-black hair was pulled into a precise bun, her hazel eyes focused intently on her methodical notes. She'd tried every legal avenue, but military courts operate by different rules. Romethorn removed his gold-rimmed glasses, polishing them with theatrical precision. "The facts of this case are simple and undisputed. During Operation Crimson Dawn, when ordered to proceed with the extraction of a high-value target in hostile territory, you froze, you second-guessed your superiors and endangered your entire unit." The gallery behind her remained silent. 60 military officers watching the systematic destruction of a decorated career. Admiral William Blackwood sat in the front row, his platinum hair and weathered features giving him the appearance of a man who'd seen too many promising careers end in courtrooms rather than on battlefields. Thornfield's voice dropped to a more personal, vindictive tone. "But let me be abundantly clear about something, Commander. Despite what modern military policies might suggest about women in combat roles, there's nothing remarkable about a female officer who can't handle the pressure when lives are on the line." Cross's hands remained folded on the polished mahogany table, that distinctive burn scar across her right palm visible to those who knew to look for it. She'd earned that scar in Syria, disarming an IED that would have killed her entire squad. But scars don't speak in courtrooms. "You are not special," Thornfield continued, his voice rising with conviction. "You are weak, and weakness has no place in the United States Navy." The words struck the courtroom like a physical blow. Several officers shifted uncomfortably. Agent Daniel Frost, a Pentagon liaison in civilian clothes, stopped taking notes and looked up sharply. Major Sterling half rose to object, but Cross placed a gentle hand on her arm. For the first time in 3 days, the commander stood. "Your Honor," she said quietly, her voice steady as steel, "I request permission to make a statement for the record." Thornfield waved dismissively, his gold pen catching the light. "Commander, this court has heard quite enough of your justifications." "Not a justification, sir. An identification." Something in her tone made Admiral Blackwood straighten in the front row. The distinguished officer's weathered features showed the first sign of recognition. Cross approached the microphone positioned before the bench. Her bearing shifted almost imperceptibly from defendant to something else entirely. Something that belonged in classified briefing rooms, in shadow operations, in places where conventional military units couldn't operate. She leaned toward the microphone and spoke just above a whisper. "Phantom 6. The reaction was immediate and electric. Colonel Martinez in the third row dropped his clipboard, the metallic clatter cutting through sudden silence. Agent Daniel Frost stood abruptly, his unremarkable features suddenly alert. 3 officers in the gallery simultaneously reached for secure phones.
Thornfield banged his gavel repeatedly, his composure cracking. "What is the meaning of this disruption?" But Cross wasn't finished. She straightened, her voice gaining strength. "Phantom 6. Task Force Midnight, December 2020 through April 2023. The courtroom erupted in controlled chaos. Throughout the gallery, officers spoke in clipped, coded phrases into secure devices. Agent Frost approached the bench with purposeful strides, handing Thornfield a crimson phone, the kind reserved for the highest levels of classified communications. As the judge listened to whoever was on the other end, his sharp features transformed from confusion to shock to something approaching terror. The voice was apparently explaining exactly who was standing in his courtroom. Admiral Blackwood rose slowly, his movement commanding instant attention despite the chaos around him. He looked directly at Cross with something approaching reverence. "Phantom 6, he said quietly, just loud enough for the room to hear. "We were told you were KIA in the Damascus extraction." "Close, Admiral," Cross replied evenly. "But some missions don't end when the paperwork says they do." Thornfield, still holding the crimson phone, looked like a man watching his world collapse. Phantom 6 wasn't just Commander Victoria Cross of the regular Navy. She was the leader of a ghost unit whose operations remained among the most classified in military history. The woman he'd just called weak had spent 3 years conducting missions that officially never happened. "This court will recess immediately," Thornfield announced, his voice unsteady. "All proceedings are hereby classified at the highest levels effective immediately." But it was too late. The damage was done. Within hours, word would spread through the Pentagon's most secure channels. The judge who'd called Phantom 6 weak, who'd questioned her fitness for command, who'd humiliated her in open court. As military police secured the courtroom and cleared the gallery, Cross remained standing at the microphone. The defendant's chair she'd occupied for 3 days now seemed like it belonged to someone else entirely. Major Sterling approached her client in bewilderment. "Commander, what just happened?" Cross's emerald eyes were fixed on Thornfield, who was being quietly escorted from his own courtroom by 2 naval intelligence officers. "Some ghosts don't stay buried, Major, especially when there's still work to do." The next morning, Judge Marcus Thornfield's resignation would be announced. His 28-year career ended by 2 words whispered in a courtroom he thought he controlled. Commander Victoria Cross would never face another court-martial. Phantom 6
had more important missions waiting. From which city are you watching this story today? If powerful stories of honor and hidden courage inspire you, subscribe to Tales of Valor. We share the untold stories of those who serve in silence, whose sacrifices remain classified, whose courage goes unrecognized until the moment truth demands to be heard.